maybe we could take a really, big view, a 30,000 foot view about the kind of the cycles that the women go through over their life. So we're all clear about the terms and when things happen and when things shift.
Well, so obviously menstruation happens anywhere from, age 9, 10, 11 through the time when you hit perimenopause. Now, the only difference between perimenopause and menopause, the big difference is that with menopause, you go 12 consecutive months without a period. The average age of menopause is 51, and your hormones are declining and in a steady state. In perimenopause, which can happen, typically in your 40s, but I want to say to women out there, I have had women in my practice go through menopause in their late 20s. So again, if you know that your cycle's really off and things are not business as usual, get your hormones checked. It's really important because something could really be off. And so in perimenopause, you do get these wild estrogen fluctuations up to 30% on any given day, which is why a lot of doctors are like, I'm not going to bother testing you. You're going to be all over the place. You can still test people even with fluctuating estrogen levels and hormone levels. So it's really important that we, give women, every woman deserves exquisite meno care.
Yeah. So is it like menstruating that menopause is happening earlier and earlier in most girls' lives in this day and age than it used to?
It can definitely happen earlier with stress or trauma, but I haven't necessarily see it trending earlier yet. Now, again, my practice is not, 6,000 people a year. So I'm not 100% sure if it's happening earlier, but I can tell you certainly menstrual cycles are happening earlier. We have more and more fertility issues. And so much of this, the good news is that so much of this is lifestyle based. Like I have seen miracles happen just by changing diet and lifestyle and throwing a couple supplements in the mix. So don't give up hope. Like none of this is hopeless. And that was the other thing is I really want to inspire hope and empowerment with women and say, this is fixable and figure outable. Like I'm living proof. If I can do it, certainly anybody else can.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. That was actually going to be my next question is why do we need to be talking about this in this day and age? And I was wondering if it's all the different lifestyle things that are going on that are putting us in this position.
There are. I mean, just think about, it's so funny because as we record this, right, daylight saving time happened where it's lighter in the morning and it's darker earlier. Guess what? Like this is actually the way it's supposed to be. This is how nature intended it to be, where you rise with the sun and sleep with the moon. And that is the most natural cycle we have. With artificial light, with cell phones and, cell phones are just, it's basically like cocaine for your brain. I mean, you're just hitting every scroll, like, swipe. That's like dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. So your brain is lit up like a Christmas tree. And you have all the blue light coming in, so you're not making melatonin. And let me tell you, I look at melatonin levels of women and most people have very poor melatonin. I've tested my own. It's really high because I'm very good about putting my cell phone away by 8 p.m. And so it's like, I'm not looking at it. I'm reading a book. Maybe I'll watch TV, but for the most part, that hour before bed is stretching, breathing, meditating, just sometimes just laying in bed with a dog, just staring at the ceiling and thinking or, journaling. Like we need to calm down. And so that lifestyle piece is hard. COVID was really hard because people are working more. They're again in front of their computers a lot, but you're better off going to bed. If you do have an intense work schedule, you're better off going to bed early and waking up early than staying up late and waking up late, because your body does the most restorative healing and the most growth hormone production and cortisol lowering between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And if you're a night shift worker, that shifts from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. But so 10 to 2 is your window where you really want to front load your sleep.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel a lot better about my sauna time at around 7:30 and my 8 o'clock bedtime. I don't really fudge on that, and I have to miss some football games on TV, but that's totally fine. I feel so much better when I can wake up at 5 without an alarm and feel ready and rested for my day. So absolutely love that. You talked about the overload of stress. Is that another thing that is a big problem in our day and age? It's just an overload across all the many things you mentioned, not only just, work stress or, too much screens, but also like the food that we consume or the jobs we work or transportation, whatever, like, is that all part of all of this?
It is. And we tend to take our stress out. So, well, a couple of things happen, right? Number one, your body, evolutionarily, our DNA is millions of years old. So your body, your brain cannot tell the difference between, you being a caveman, like running from a saber-toothed tiger that wandered into the cave where you're sleeping, and crap, I missed my deadlines. I am not going to get paid because I didn't, or I could lose my job. And, we have to send our kid to private school and tuition's expensive, or food inflation right now. I mean, the world there's a lot to worry about at times. And so your body, your fight or flight center is activated all the time. And as adults, when you're a kid, right, you're crossing the street, a car comes out, you jump, you're like, you get the adrenaline rush. In a couple minutes, that's all under control and back to baseline. As an adult, we don't have the resilience. So your cortisol stays elevated quite a lot. And especially at night, it really interferes with our sleep. And then, our cortisol curve really gets altered, and not in a positive way. And the other piece of the puzzle is our food. We're taking, we're numbing ourselves with, jacking ourselves up with caffeine during the day and alcohol at night. And, rather than learning to manage stress, like, your body has the tools to manage stress. It's just your breath. And people say, I can't meditate. I suck at meditating. If you've ever like daydreamed in the shower or like zoned out when you were driving, your brain was in a meditative state. You were making alpha waves in those conditions. So 10 minutes of deep breathing a night also helps with alpha wave production. It reshapes the amygdala, the fight or flight center in your brain, and calms things down. You need to do this at least 8 weeks consecutively to build the muscle. And the longer you do it, the better it gets. I remember when I first started meditating, my brain was a monkey mind. All I heard was chatter, 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 chatter. And I was like, wow, I had to really keep coming back to my breath. Now, the longer you practice it, every day, you build the muscle and it gets easier, and your brain associates like 3 breaths and you can be passed out of sleep. So the benefits come with time, but it's a far better, outcome for your body when you learn to handle the stress.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we all have this idea that we need to live in a cave as a monk or something to be able to achieve that level of mindfulness. But even paying for the Calm app, which I paid for a number of years, for like 20 cents a day or 30 cents a day or whatever it was, you could run a meditation that goes for 5 or 10 minutes. I did them when I was on my morning walks, and they totally reframed my mind. It was so important, and it was all about consistency. It wasn't necessarily the length of time that I did it, even if I had less than 10 minutes. Just a short meditation and just practicing, like you said, and being consistent with it, I found to be of huge importance.
All right. Well, you're going to totally crack up with this, Casey, too. But I actually meditated on being on the Goop podcast for 8 months before it happened.
No way.
Yeah. And so meditation, here's another insight I want to share. It's really one of the most powerful ones. So my doctor is Tom Moorcroft, who really brought me back from the dead from Lyme and mold. And he led, while I was in my early days of treatment with him, he started a meditation RX course. I actually put the link in my book. No financial ties. I just thought it was a great course. And what he taught us was, it's not that you're not dreaming, but you're not going big enough with your dreams. So he was like, so if you want to, something I really struggled with when I was really sick was I couldn't lift weights. I had a flat cortisol curve. I wasn't even in the lowest levels. I was below the lowest levels. So if I lifted weights, I crashed and felt nauseous and hypoglycemic for 2 days after.
Wow.
So I envisioned myself lifting weights. I envisioned the book changing the lives of millions of women around the globe. And I did envision some very big celebrity connections.
Amazing.
And so when I called my friends say, hey, I'm going on Goop, they were like, Yeah, we're not even surprised. Like, of course, you've been meditating on this for a long time, but I
Wow.
did meditate on myself being able to lift weights again, and about 8 months later, I was lifting weights. So it really, it's really important to get your creative mind going in the process too, because that gets us out of our stress too. If we're a lot of stress, I think, comes from not being in alignment with your dreams and your hopes. And when that happens, like, you've got to go bigger, man. You've got to invite the divine or the universe to collaborate with you, to partner with you. A great book to read on this is Outrageous Openness by Tosha Silver. It's on my bedside, has been for 10 years. We really have to think, and that also shifts, it puts you in more of a space of gratitude. So you let go of the stress. You can always find the good in every day.
I love that. Wow. That is amazing advice. That's such a powerful tool. And that's it. I'm going to meditate on being a Formula One driver for the next 8 months. That's done deal.